But what do you think? Maybe the I do agree with the point systems being quite silly, but doesn't it help a little bit? Does it have a little objectivity behind it? If you're
Not
talking
anymore.
about like not anymore.
You have to look at an idea and put it in a place and time, right? It,
Okay.
I always said sometimes we talk about in our company as we evolve. I use this term pretty often. Something that was once the solution may now be the problem, right? If we've
Yeah.
structured a team a certain way and we needed that for this time and place, okay, great. Now we've fixed these problems. We've grown. We're here now. Well, that structure may now be the problem. It's causing the problems. You have
Mm.
to remember when the point system came about, really in the early 80s. Robert Parker sort of created this, really starting his big vintage was the 82 Bordeaux vintage. You have to look at the 70s, even going back to the 60s in the world of wine. Compared to now, the quality of wine was very low
Okay. Yeah.
everywhere in the world. Look at Tuscany, look at California, look at Bordeaux, I mean, just strings and strings of bad vintages and very low quality of wine. Not, it wasn't so. That was important because you really needed to very quickly, define what was a high quality wine or not. Again, back then it still
Okay.
didn't tell you much about the wine, but at least told you it was a high quality wine. I mean, you look at
Mm.
regions like, again, Tuscany, Bordeaux in the 60s and 70s, a lot of really bad wine, right?
Mm.
Bordeaux at the time was the most important red wine region in the world, right?
Yeah.
And that point system was very valuable at the time, and I think it helped, especially the American consumer, to navigate what was this sort of new interest of wine in the American market. What was good? Again, I'm not going to learn much about it, but I at least know what's good. Now we look, 40 years later, and the average quality wine is very high, right?
Mm.
Again, look at Tuscany, look at Bordeaux, look at Burgundy, look at the Rhone, look at Napa, Sonoma, the Central Coast. Let's look at Australia. Let's look at New Zealand, Portugal. I
Yeah.
mean, South Africa, Chile, Argentina. I mean, the amount of high quality wine that a consumer or a buyer has access to, it's unparalleled in the history of humanity.
Yeah.
So the point system now is irrelevant because
Mm.
you could go into a wine shop, close your eyes, and throw a dart, and I can guarantee you have a 95% chance of getting something really delicious in quality at any price point that you want. And
Yeah.
that's why I say it's really, it's not that I have a problem with it because I think it added an enormous amount of value. And in many ways, probably led to what is now the high quality of wine, created
Yeah.
accountability. And that's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's necessary. It pushed everyone to produce the very highest quality wine they can produce because they know they had to sit across from that critic and they had to, or they had to send the bottle to the critic,
Yeah.
and that person was going to give them honest feedback on it, and the world would see that. It created accountability. But now, I mean, come on. I mean, if you're not making good wine today, you're probably going to go out of business, or the price point is so low that it's not really what you're aiming for. It's a volumetric game, but again, someone who's spending $75 and up is not going to, interact with that wine anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on scores. We can't look at, we have to look at this sort of concept in reference to the industry at the time. Go to
I
the Napa
see.
Valley. I would challenge you to find a low quality wine. You may not like the
Yeah.
style, but something
Yeah.
is just really bad. I mean, it's very hard to find, right?
Yeah.
So what are the points telling you? Before it was, this is a high quality wine, this is okay, and this is very mediocre. I mean, when's the last time you saw an 80.1 in Napa?
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. This is a really new way of thinking about it, and I think that this really makes sense. So basically, you are saying that before the point system was basically for filtering out like faulty wines. So it
In
was
low
more about
quality.
like
You look at you
technical.
look at regions that were dramatically overcropping, producing these sort of thin, funky, weird wines. They weren't high quality, and cellars were not clean. They were, I mean,
Yeah,
viticulturally was not very advanced. They were, it just, they weren't putting the effort in to produce great wine. Now, were there people making great wine? Absolutely, but not at the scale that we're doing it now in
It
today's
wasn't as
world.
consistent.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Thanks for watching this video. You can watch the full podcast episode by clicking here, or watch another interesting video by clicking here. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section and see you in the next one.